Discover the touching moment a police dog saves a young girl from her brother's incredible attack. It was a seemingly ordinary Saturday afternoon in the sleepy suburb of Maplewood, Ohio until it wasn't. A shrill voice pierced the warm air. "You think you're better than me?" Emma's heart raced as her brother Jake slammed a kitchen cabinet, anger radiating from him like a storm ready to unleash. 12, and already used to the bruises of bullying at school, she wondered how far her little world would tip over the edge today. Jake, just 17, grappling with demons that Emma couldn't understand, had always been a source of safety for her. But all that fell apart as the weight of his frustration crashed down. He was supposed to be her protector, yet he became something monstrous, causing waves of fear to crash through her chest. "Stop. Please," Emma cried, her voice small, barely a whisper against his furious shouts. As the sounds echoed out into the neighborhood, curious eyes peeked through the curtains. Whispers of disbelief brushed through the streets lined with homes where the scent of autumn lingered. These houses, where laughter and family dinners were once the norm, now felt cold. In a flash, fury and fear merged the unlikely duo of a volatile brother and a frightened sister drawing in a crowd. Just as Jake took a step toward Emma, his pent-up rage evident in his clenched fists, something incredible broke through the tension. Out of nowhere, K9 Officer Max appeared, his fur gleaming in the fading sunlight, a symbol of loyalty and strength. The beloved police dog, known for saving the day, leaped onto the scene like a knight in shining armor, standing between the siblings. With a commanding bark, Max froze Jake in place, forcing him to rethink every thought that led to this moment. This, however, was just the beginning of an emotional unraveling. As moments passed, the community held its breath. Emma stood there, trembling, not just from fear but with a flicker of empowerment igniting inside her. "We need to talk," she thought, realizing that if Max could confront the chaos, so could she. But how? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The afternoon sun began to set, casting long shadows over the gathering crowd. Emma's heart raced, her thoughts tumbling like leaves in a gust of wind. As the whispers grew louder, some people called for accountability, wanting understanding, while others shook their heads in doubt. What did it mean to love fiercely but still hurt? Emma knew they needed to heal. She felt the urge build within her, a determination to lead her family and community in a pathway of redemption. A neighborhood meeting was her idea. She envisioned a place where stories could be shared, pain acknowledged. Yet, just as hope lifted her spirits, she caught a glance of Jake standing at the back of the crowd, eyes filled with regret, the hurt spilling over like the sorrowful fall of autumn leaves. As all voices fell silent, the tension wrapped around everyone like a thick blanket, smothering the air. Emma knew the moment was ripe for change. Would Jake step forward? Would they confront their past, or would the weight of their unspoken fears hold them hostage forever? Every eye in the room awaited the answer, holding their breath for what would come next. The silence hung heavily in the air, a curtain drawn tight across the raw energy bubbling beneath the surface. Emma's heart thudded loudly in her chest, each beat urging her to be brave. Could she really take a step forward in front of everyone? Jake shifted uncomfortably at the back of the crowd. Emma could see the conflict clawing at him. The sweet boy who once threw her on his back for piggyback rides now seemed so far away. Emma's vision blurred as her grip tightened on the edge of the table, grounding herself in the present moment. From the corner of her eye, she saw Max sitting alertly but quietly. His golden coat shimmered as he scanned the crowd, reminding Emma that sometimes, courage came in surprising forms. She took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts like little birds ready to take flight. They are watching, she realized, but we are all in this together. Jake, Emma called out, her voice stronger than she felt. Every eye turned towards him, the intensity of their stares could almost boil water. Silence swirled, packaging Emma's thought into a fragile whisper. We need to talk. Jake hesitated. She could see him swallowing hard, processing the weight of the moment. After what felt like a lifetime, he took a step forward, the crowd parting like a river. His face was pained, shadows dancing in the lines etched across his brow. I am sorry, he finally managed to say, his voice cracking like dry leaves. I didn't mean to. A voice shouted from the crowd, filled with disbelief. You could have really hurt her. Emma felt her stomach twist. It burned to feel that anger directed at her brother. Deep down she understood, but the response sent a shockwave through the gathered neighbors. The room felt electric, charged with emotions that went beyond anger, saturation of hurt and fear gripping everyone. Stop! Emma interjected, raising her hands, palms facing the crowd as if to brush away the accusations. He's my brother. Please, give him a chance. Emma's voice wavered, but she stood firm. This was their moment. Jake's eyes widened at her words. Was she standing up for him? Taking a breath to quell the rising tide of feelings within him, he pushed on. I don't want to hurt you, Emma, he said, gripping his fists tightly. Everything is falling apart and I don't know how to handle it. A mother from the back stepped forward, empathy radiating from her. Many of us are struggling too, she said softly. Let us not let anger rule us. Jake, you're not alone in this. Emma's chest tightened as she exchanged a glance with Jake. There was a flicker of hope within. It was possible. Change could be made. Slowly, she walked toward him and reached out her hand. We can face our troubles together, she whispered, squeezing her eyes shut against the wave of vulnerability. Jake's hesitance melted as he stepped closer, uncertainty replaced with the desperation of a brother in need. He took her hand, and in that moment, Emma could feel the warmth of their bond. But just as the tension began to ease, a sharp bark from Max broke the heavy silence, bringing them all back to the present. What now? Emma thought, her heart racing again as she scanned the crowd, their faces etched with a mix of hope and worry. Could this really be the beginning of healing, or was it just the calm before another storm? The crowd seemed restless, but the spark of possibility ignited something deeper. The question remained, what would come next for their family, for their community, and for Jake? Emma felt a gripping excitement and fear of the unknown pulse through her. They had taken a step, but could they truly keep moving forward together? The tension in the room felt thick, almost suffocating. Emma held her breath, hoping the crowd would share in the fragile sense of unity she had just begun to form with Jake. Just as she glanced around, seeking signs of support, she caught the determined gaze of Max, still focused on the crowd, as if sensing that something was brewing just beneath the surface. Can we slow down? A voice suddenly called out from the back, breaking in with urgency. It was Mr. Thompson, the local shop owner. His concern was palpable. This might not be the time or place for this kind of talk. We need to ensure everyone is safe. The murmurs began again, a mixture of agreement and dissent that rippled through the crowd. Emma's heart sank. They had come so far, yet now she felt the wall of fear quickly building back up. She turned towards Jake, anxiety tightening in her chest. Do you think they'll listen if we share everything? She whispered. Jake nodded, panic mixing with determination on his face. They should hear me out. They need to know I didn't mean to, but before he could finish, Jake's words caught in his throat at the sight of their father stepping into the circle that had formed. He hadn't said a word until now, his brow furrowed, eyes scanning the faces before him. Enough! He called out, his voice booming in the stillness that followed. Jake flinched at the heightening tension, a storm brewing behind their father's eyes. This family is torn apart, and now is not the time for accusations. He pointed sharply at the ground near Jake. I know you're hurting, Jake. I feel it too, but you have to talk to us. Don't lash out and make it worse. His words were like a thunderclap, echoing right through Emma. It stirred something within the crowd, transforming fear into something like understanding. They were all aiming toward the same goal: healing, connection, hope. I was scared, Jake finally uttered, his voice quavering but gaining strength. I just didn't know how to deal with it all. I still don't. There was a raw honesty in his words, and it cracked open something inside Emma's heart that felt fragile yet necessary. A young woman from the crowd stepped forward, trembling. You're not alone, Jake. We've all been scared. Maybe we can help you instead of fighting. Her voice was soft, yet steady, weaving through the chaos. There was a ripple of agreement as others began to speak up, sharing their struggles, fears, and moments of vulnerability. Emma's heart surged. This was the moment she had been yearning for: the wall crumbling, the truth spilling out. Her fingers intertwined with Jake's, a united front against the chaos that threatened to pull them apart. Could this really become a family moment of healing? Hope was ignited in the room as people began to discuss solutions and support systems, their voices intertwining, building a sense of community that was powerful and vibrant. Yet at that very moment, Max barked again, drawing their attention. Emma turned sharply as a shadow loomed outside the open door. The crowd froze, expressions turning from unity to uncertainty. What's happening? She thought, dread unfurling inside her. What new challenge was on the horizon, and how would it affect their fragile moment of connection? Emma's heart raced as the door creaked open wider. They were not yet safe, and this moment of vulnerability could be tested in ways they hadn't imagined. Yet, even in fear, she felt the pulse of hope, the flickering promise of something greater. The door swung open, and a chill swept through the room. Emma's heart pounded. The figure standing in the doorway was not a stranger, but someone the crowd had feared all along. It was Officer Barnes, accompanied by his police dog, Max, a dog that had been trained to sense fear and danger. The sight of them sent a fresh wave of tension filled with uncertainty rippling through the crowd. Is everything okay in here? Officer Barnes asked, his voice a mixture of authority and concern. His eyes darted from face to face, landing finally on Jake and their father. He seemed to recognize the heavy atmosphere, the emotional storm brewing in the hearts of everyone present. Is this about the alleged incident? Mr. Thompson's voice pierced through the silence, urgency wrapping his words. A ripple of whispers flowed through the crowd, their expressions hints of confusion and concern merging into one. Emma stepped forward, squeezing Jake's hand tighter. We were just let us take a moment, Officer Barnes interrupted, softly but firmly, sensing the delicate state of the room. We need to be careful in how we handle this. There's been a lot of fear, and it's vital we talk about the right things, or this can escalate. We can't afford any more misunderstandings. The mention of misunderstandings made Emma's stomach twist. This could be the very moment everything unraveled again. She glanced at Jake and saw the uncertainty painted across his face. In a room meant for connection, doubts began to seep back in. Barnes, it's just. Jake stammered, the weight of his fears crashing against his words. I didn't mean to. But he trailed off, feeling the weight of all their eyes upon him. Whatever happened, it doesn't matter now. What matters is how we move forward together, said Barnes, his voice steady. He motioned to the gathered faces, his gaze softening as it shifted to Max, the dog, now sitting obediently beside him. This guy here has been through thick and thin with me. He knows what fear looks like. And more importantly, he knows how to find it and face it. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to be reassured or further unsettled. Emma looked at Max, who held an aura of calm, his gaze warm and understanding. Could a dog be a bridge in this moment of turmoil? Fear has a funny way of showing up when we least expect it, Officer Barnes continued. But facing it, that's what molds us into who we become. Jake, you're part of this community, and we're here to find a way to help you. We want to understand what led to the incident. Jake took a deep breath, the crowd holding its collective breath with him. I'm scared of losing everyone. I didn't think I could. Then let us help you through it, Barnes encouraged. None of us know how to be perfect, we're all facing something. But we can learn together. There was a spelling of a change in the air. The crowd began to stir, a quiet movement of heads nodding in agreement, voices murmuring softly, echoing the need for connection, one that wasn't about blame but healing. Emma felt a spark of hope flicker again, mingling with her fears. Suddenly, Max began to whine, his ears perked up and alert. The crowd fell silent again, confusion rippling through. Then, without warning, the dog turned and dashed toward the doorway, barking intently. The officer's eyes widened. Max! Wait! What now? Emma gasped, feeling her heart race with uncertainty. As the dog bolted outside, the tension shifted once more. Was this another sign of danger? Or was it something they hadn't anticipated? Emma felt her stomach drop, the walls of their hard-earned unity were now threatening to crumble again. She looked at Jake, his expression mirroring her apprehension. What is it, Max? She whispered to herself. And as the crowd surged forward in a mix of curiosity and concern, Emma knew an answer was imminent. What had Max discovered that could change everything? Emma felt a tingle of dread ripple through her as the sound of Max's barking grew fainter, carried off by the night's cool breeze. A few curious faces began to drift towards the doorway, trying to catch a glimpse of whatever had piqued the dog's interest. She could feel Jake's grip tighten around her hand almost instinctively, anchoring her amidst the growing uncertainty. What if he finds something dangerous? Jake whispered, his voice heavy with concern. We need to trust him, Emma replied, though her own heart thrummed loudly in her chest. Officer Barnes's expression shifted, a mix of understanding and urgency flickering across his face. He turned to the crowd, raising a hand for silence. Stay here, he commanded, and with that, he bolted outside after Max. Emma watched, feeling a knot tighten in her stomach. The moment stretched long as she stood there, the murmurs of the crowd filling in the space where silence had been. Then, amid the tension, a scream shattered the night, a single, piercing cry that sent chills down Emma's spine. It was the kind of scream that clawed at the edges of your heart, the kind that reverberated with pure terror. Jake! She said, panic threading through her voice. We have to go. Before she could finish, they rushed toward the door, a surge of instinct driving them. Outside, they found chaos. The yard was dimly lit by a few flickering street lamps. Max stood in the middle, paws planted firmly, his fur bristled, barking furiously at a figure crouched low. Officer Barnes was trying to approach the figure without alarming it further. Stay back! Officer Barnes shouted, but Emma could see the fear in his eyes. The crouched figure was barely visible under the shadows, but what made Emma's breath hitch was the distinct sound of muffled sobs coming from the direction of the figure. Is that? Emma's eyes widened as she squinted into the dark, recognizing the silhouette. Emily! Jake shouted, breaking into a run. What are you doing here? The girl, no older than 10, lifted her head, tears streaming down her face. In that moment, everything else faded for Emma. Emily's usually bright eyes were clouded with fear and confusion, framed by her tangled hair. She reached for Jake, and suddenly everything made sense. The scream had come from her. I was scared. I thought you were hurting someone, she sobbed, collapsing to the ground, the fight leaving her tiny frame. No, Em, it's okay. It's okay. Jake rushed to her side, wrapping his arms around her. We're here, we'll keep you safe. Officer Barnes moved closer to assess the situation, and Max finally calmed, sitting back down beside the three of them. Emma knelt down, trying to comfort Emily as well. "You're all right now. You're safe with us." Her heart ached for the little girl, whose fears had led her to this risky encounter. The commotion surrounding them started to quiet, the crowd slowly piecing together what had unfolded. Emotions were a whirlpool of shock, relief, and a strange warmth spreading through Emma as she felt the bond stronger than threads beneath her fingers. But just as they began to pull back to familiarity, another scream echoed down the street. This time, it sounded urgent, desperate. Emma stood up, her heart racing once more. "Jake, what's happening now?" Jake, still holding Emily tightly, looked toward the sound, confusion swirling in his eyes. "I don't know, but it doesn't sound good." What awaited them just beyond the shadows? Emma felt a new tension tightening around them, a shiver of fear creeping back in. With every step they took toward the unknown, she wondered if they were about to step into a deeper darkness. Could they face whatever awaited, or would it pull them apart once more? Emma squinted into the dark, her breath hitching again at the urgency of the situation. The second scream was raw and haunting. It hung in the air, a sound that echoed of pain and fear. She shared a glance with Jake, their eyes wide with unspoken worries. Emily clung to Jake's side, trembling. The innocence of childhood felt severely out of place in the chaos that shrouded them. "Stay close," Jake murmured to Emily, his voice steady yet filled with concern. "We'll go back inside if we need to. But I have to see what's happening." With that, they edged toward the source of the scream, hand in hand. Each step felt heavier than the last, the air thick with anticipation. The flickering street lamps threw eerie shadows, and Emma found herself gripping Jake's hand tighter. Officer Barnes had moved a few paces ahead, his posture tense as he scanned the darkness. "Max! Find it!" he commanded, hoping the dog would lead them to the unfolding danger. The dog perked up, tail stiff, darting past them toward the cacophony of raised voices that seemed to draw nearer. As they advanced, Emma spotted a figure stumbling backward, tripping over an invisible obstacle. It was a woman, disheveled and panicked, her hair a wild halo around her head. She caught sight of Officer Barnes and froze, eyes wide. She seemed caught between fleeing and pleading for help. "Please, you have to help me. He's gone mad." The woman screamed, her voice cracking. "What do you mean?" Officer Barnes called back, urgency punctuating his tone. "Who? Where?" At that moment, a boy burst into view, his face twisted in anger. He looked older than Emily, perhaps in his early teens, his fists clenched tight at his sides. "Get away from her!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the night. Emma's heart raced. She could see a raw intensity in his eyes, a desperation that hinted at something beyond just anger. "Jake!" Emma whispered, panic rising in her chest. "He could hurt her." "Max!" Officer Barnes shouted, urgency rising in his voice as he signaled the dog forward. The dog instinctively shifted into a protective stance, growling low in his throat. The sound rippled with an unnerving authority that made Emma's pulse quicken. "Max will take care of it," Jake assured, glancing down at Emily, whose small form seemed dwarfed by the tension brimming around them. Emma could feel her breath quickening, a rising tide of emotions flooding through her, fear for what might happen and hope that everything would end okay. The boy took another step, fists trembling. "Stay back, or I'll..." His voice faltered, flickering into uncertainty. Something deeper seemed to surge within him, confusion and anger swirling together. "Hey!" Officer Barnes took a step forward, his voice firm yet calm. "Just talk to me. I want to help you." In that moment, time stood still. Emma held her breath, waiting to see if the boy would choose to talk or lash out, the thin line between crisis and understanding hanging in the balance like a taut string. The urge within Emma was to rush forward, to say something, anything that might ease the boy's turmoil. Yet she remained rooted, a witness to whatever would unfold before them. But suddenly, a third scream rang out, this one filled with anguish. It was a cry that pierced through the night like a dagger, echoed by the distant sound of sirens beginning to rise in the distance. What was that? Emily's voice shook, wide eyes searching the dark. Emma swallowed hard, uncertainty flooding her mind. I don't know, she admitted, dread creeping back in. In the depth of that dreadful silence, beneath the looming threat, Emma realized something. They were teetering on the edge of a turning point. Would they confront this crisis together? Or would this moment tear them apart? They were caught in the headlights of a storm, each second weighing heavier, each decision more critical. For better or worse, something was about to break through the chaos, and they had to be ready to face it. The air grew thick with tension, palpable and almost suffocating. Emma's heart raced as she took a step forward, instinctively wanting to shield Emily from the fray. The boy's voice barely broke through the buzzing in her ears, but it was clear he was in pain, battling demons that no one else could see. She could sense the fear radiating from Jake, an unsettling mix of protectiveness and confusion. Officer Barnes took another step. "I'm here for you, buddy," he called out gently. "Just take a breath." "What is going on?" The boy's face twisted again, a storm of emotions churning within him, rage, desperation, and a hint of fear. Emma felt her breath hitch as she glanced at the woman behind him, now crumpled to the ground, sobbing. What had happened here? The scene swirled with dread, each heartbeat echoing, reminding her of the stakes. "Back off!" the boy yelled. "You don't know what she did." His fists trembled, the very air charged with the potential for violence. "Max, stay alert," Officer Barnes commanded. In a flash, Max lunged forward just a few feet, barking loudly. Emma's heart raced even faster. She couldn't tell if she wanted to cheer him on or if she feared what would happen next. Would the boy lash out? Would he hurt someone? "Please, please." The woman's fragile voice broke through the chaos, her tears glistening in the dim light. "He just needs help. He's been through so much." "Enough!" the boy shouted, shaking his head violently as if he were trying to dislodge the very thoughts tearing him apart. "Don't listen to her." Jake's hand tightened around Emma's. "This is bad," he murmured, his voice barely a whisper. "What if he really hurts her?" Emma couldn't tear her gaze from the boy. The vulnerability mixed with his fury was almost heartbreaking. "What if we could help him?" she blurted out, surprising herself. The unexpected bravery of her words felt like a glimmer in the darkness. "Help?" the boy scoffed, his voice low and trembling. "You think you can help me?" "Yes," Emma said, stepping out from behind Jake. "You don't have to be alone. We can listen, we can help you figure this out." His eyes darted between them, a flicker of something new, confusion, maybe? It was a crack in the wall he'd built around himself. Max's growls had softened into a low whine as he sensed the changing atmosphere. But just as hope began to thread its way through, the sirens grew louder, closer. The boy's shoulders slumped, and for a moment, Emma thought he might drop his guard. That shred of uncertainty started to dissolve, and she dared to take another step forward. "You don't have to fight us," she urged. "Please. Stop." He snapped suddenly, shaking his head harshly again. "You don't know what's coming. It's too late." With those words, a dark shadow swept over the scene, shifting the once precarious balance toward an edge she couldn't comprehend. Emma's heart dropped. What was he implying? A glint of determination came into the officer's stance. "You can still choose to put it down. Let us talk." The conviction in his voice carried a weight meant to anchor the tension that loomed. But would it be enough? In that charged silence, just as clarity seemed to take root, a snap of a branch nearby sent the group jumping. The rustling of leaves echoed ominously in the night, like a warning. Emily flinched against Jake, trembling harder, and Emma felt a cold wave slam into her gut. "Stay with us," Jake urged, pulling Emily close. The boy's eyes darted again, panic washed over him, but there was something else lurking too: desperation. He glanced at the woman, then back to the officers, his expression shifting from fury to something darker. "Get away!" he shouted again, his voice cracking, as if he was battling something far greater than his own fears. Emma clutched Jake's hand even tighter. Time was slipping away, decisions had to be made, and yet all she felt was the haunting uncertainty of what might come next. With everything hanging in the balance, there came a moment when Emma realized that the crossroads before them could change everything. Would they be able to reach him before it was too late? Just then, another scream broke the stillness, sharper and anguished, a sound that made her blood run cold. What had they stepped into? The boy's eyes widened, a rush of alarm. Emma stepped closer, hoping to bridge the gap. Would this be the moment they reached him? Or would the darkness claim another innocent soul? The silence that followed the scream felt like a thick fog. Time slowed, each second stretching out, heavy with dread. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she searched the boy's face for signs: fear, anger, desperation. But while his emotions swirled visibly on the surface, something deeper lurked beneath. "Max," Officer Barnes called, his voice steady but taut, a careful anchor amidst the chaos. Max didn't budge, though. He remained on edge, a low growl vibrating through his powerful frame, ready to leap at a moment's notice. "Please," Emma pleaded, her voice inching higher, "we're not here to hurt you. But you need to tell us what's going on. We want to help you." Her eyes flicked toward the sobbing woman, who was now being consoled by a paramedic who had arrived on the scene, the sirens now echoing in the distance. The boy's gaze flicked back to the woman, that flicker of vulnerability reigniting. It was an accident. His voice trembled, cracking under the weight of unshed tears. "She said she loved him, that she was done. She didn't mean I didn't mean to." His fists clenched tighter, shaking violently as he fought an internal battle. That moment of hesitation felt like a fragile thread, and Emma could see it, she could feel it. "You didn't mean to hurt her," she said softly, stepping even closer despite the tension soaked in fear surrounding them. "But something's going on, and we want to understand. We won't turn our backs on you." He hesitated, his breath coming in shallow bursts, and Emma could see the boy was wrestling with his demons. His eyes darted around them, searching for a way out, still caught in a storm of emotions. The sirens, once sharp and horrific, now faded into the background noise of the moment, the focus shifting entirely to him. "Please, let us help," she urged, her voice steady now, threading courage into the air. "We're all scared." He interrupted, staring at her. "You think I'm scared? You don't know what scared is. I have to protect her from herself." His voice cracked, and the depth of anguish in it made Emma's heart twist. The distance between them shrank further as he hesitated again, the tension in his hands loosening just slightly. Emma could sense the glimmer of hope nestled behind the storm. "You're trying to save her, but safety doesn't come from rage or fear. It comes from love." That struck him. It was evident on his face. A flicker of realization crossed his features, and it felt almost like reaching for a distant dream. But just as quickly as it appeared, doubt returned. I can't let her go," he shouted, panic coloring his voice. Max took a cautious step down, lowering his growl into a whine, sensing the distress hanging heavily in the air. "Listen," Officer Barnes resumed, voice calm but firm. "If you don't let us help, it could get worse. But if you trust us, you can find a way out together." Emma could see the boy waver, his heart battling his mind in an unseen contest. She held her breath, hoping that maybe, just maybe, he would see the light amid the darkness. In the periphery, the paramedics were shifting the woman onto a stretcher. As the boy glanced away, even if it was for an instant, it was a crack she nearly seized. But then a sound shattered that fleeting moment. It was the unmistakable thud of boots on the ground, officers rushing in with grim determination. Fear flickered in the boy's eyes as he surged backward, affecting a wild, desperate look around, full of impending dread. "I can't!" he cried out, the walls he had built once again encasing him, trapping him deeper in his own chaos. "Trust us!" Emma shouted. The plea came tumbling out, more forceful than she intended, filled with the urgency of the moment. She could feel the world closing in, smothering the tiny spark of hope she had seen in him. "Don't let them take me," he roared, glancing back at the incoming officers. As the air grew thick with tension once more, Emma realized that the moment of truth had arrived for them all. Would he choose to trust, or would he flee into the abyss? The stakes escalated, and they were racing against not just the clock, but against a darkness closing in. What choice would he make? And what would be the consequences? The boy's gaze darted around, panic surfacing like a storm threatening to break. Emma felt her heart race along with his. She reached out, her hand extended, as if she could physically bridge the chasm of fear between them. She had to try. "Max, stay," Officer Barnes commanded, careful not to provoke the boy further. The dog, sensing the tension, remained alert but silent. Emma's focus narrowed to the terrified face before her. She knew she needed to reach him, to pull him back from that precipice. "Max," she whispered to the dog, "just be ready." The quiet understanding between her and the animal gave her a flicker of strength. "Please," she said again, letting the plea fill her voice with sincerity. "You're not alone. We only want to help. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about her." Her eyes followed the paramedics who were now working tirelessly to stabilize the mother, worried about the fragility of life. The boy's eyes softened, a flash of recognition breaking through the wildness. "You don't understand," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "If they take her away, I can't lose her." Emma felt the churning emotions in the air: love, desperation, anguish. This was not just a boy standing before her, it was a brother who felt a terrible weight on his shoulders, believing that only he could save her. "You're right," Emma responded gently, "I don't know your story. But I do know that hurting someone in the name of love isn't real love. It's anger, and it won't bring her back. You have to let us help." As she said this, she saw the muscles in his jaw tense, the storm inside him still raging. It was a fragile moment, teetering on the edge of release or destruction. Then, a sharp bark cut through the tension, the sound losing itself in the echoes of chaos. Max sprang forward, but the officer held him back with a reassuring hand. "Stay, boy," he murmured, though Emma could see the dog was ready to leap if needed. "Just take a step back," Emma urged the boy, moving slowly to show she meant no threat. "Let us reach her. She needs you to be strong to be her brother now, not her captor." For a brief moment, they were still, locked in a space where time seemed to pause. Emma could feel the restless energy in the boy, a collision of raw emotion fighting to surface. She prayed for him to find clarity amid the tempest. His voice wavered, cracking again. "I just wanted to keep her safe," he whispered, finally allowing a tear to slip down his cheek. It was a breaking point, and Emma felt it, to a shift in the air as his defenses faltered. "Safety doesn't mean holding on too tight," she said gently, sensing his turmoil. "Safety means finding help together. Trust me." The boy blinked hard, visibly shaking, and for the first time, he seemed to truly see Emma. In that fleeting moment, hope sparked anew. Yet the sound of furious footsteps and shouts echoed closer, the officers determined to take control of the situation. The boy's face twisted in fresh terror, and all Emma's hopes dangled precariously. "Please don't let them take me," he sobbed out, raw and unguarded. In a flash, Emma saw this was the moment that could change everything. But could she really reach him before the chaos erupted again? Trust the love you have for her. She shouted, her words breaking above the noise. You can do this. Don't let fear take what love can save. But would he believe her? Would he leap into the unknown for the sake of love, or retreat into the shadows of despair? As he stood there, two worlds colliding within him, a question hung in the air, a poignant truth waiting to be unveiled. Would he embrace the messy, painful beauty of love, or would he cling to the darkness of fear? Emma held her breath, her heart racing. They were running out of time. What would happen next? The atmosphere felt charged, like the moments before a storm. Emma watched as the boy's chest heaved, uncertain, struggling between fear and the spark of understanding she hoped to ignite. You can do this, she whispered more to herself than to him, the urgency trembling in her voice. In that split second, it felt like the world had come to a standstill. Everything hung in the balance, the cries of chaos fading into a distant echo. She took a tentative step forward, holding his gaze as steady hope flickered in her heart. Love is messy, she pressed on. It's being scared but choosing to trust anyway. You've carried this burden long enough. Burden? His eyes widened, an avalanche of emotions flooding to the surface, shock mingled with pain. Yes. You don't have to bear it alone, Emma said, her heart racing as she stepped closer. Let her go. Give her a chance to breathe, to heal. Just like you need healing too. Jake, standing beside her, nodded earnestly. We can find a way together, man. We'll help you find help. His voice bolstered Emma's shaky confidence and added an element of brotherhood to the scene. A flicker of hesitation crossed the boy's features as he shifted under the weight of their words, searching for an anchor in the storm. She hoped that somehow, they were reaching him through the chaos, when suddenly, another voice broke the spell. We've all experienced fear. Officer Barnes stepped forward, his presence commanding yet softened by empathy. But fear doesn't have to rule us. You can decide right now to tell the truth and open the door for healing. The boy paused, the tension unfurling like a fragile flower closing on itself. With trembling hands, he wiped away the tears pooling in his eyes. I just wanted to keep her safe. We understand, Emma replied gently. Yet, sometimes the hardest thing we can do is let go. You have to trust that it's okay to feel lost. That's part of finding your way back. Max edged closer, sensing the shift in emotions. The dog now sat quietly, his head cocked as if urging the boy to see the truth beneath the surface. Please, Emma urged again, her heart pounding. If you can lean on love instead of fear just for a moment, it could change everything. You could be her protector instead of her captor. The boy's breathing steadied, but he remained conflicted. The frantic pace of footsteps drew nearer as the officer's preparation loomed overhead. Do it for her. Jake chimed in, glancing toward the woman. Make this your act of protection. Not just for her, but for yourself too. That had to hit a nerve. Emma could see the boy's features softening. The conflict etched into his brow began to clear as a different truth unfurled. Love doesn't want to control, she continued, sensing a crack in the defenses. It wants to lift you up, support you through the hardest times. I don't know if I can, he whispered, his voice catching in that tightly held moment. Take a breath, Officer Barnes encouraged. Let the fear go. Just take the step forward. A profound silence hung in the air. The crowd held their breath, as their lives seemed to hinge on this young boy's decision. He glanced back at the sobbing woman who watched through tear-glazed eyes filled with a mix of love and dread. The moment felt infinite, stretching far beyond the encroaching chaos. Then, with a quivering sigh, the boy slowly lowered his fists. Emma's heart leaped, urging him on. Yes, let it go. She exclaimed, her voice brimming with encouragement. Finally, he took a shaky step back, eyes glistening. I'm so sorry, he murmured, the words spilling out like a healing balm. I just didn't want to lose her. Let us protect you both, Officer Barnes replied, stepping closer now. Just trust us. We'll help you build a better safety together. The boy's hesitation melted away, and he sank to his knees, tears streaming down his cheeks. I was so scared, I didn't know how. Emma rushed forward, wrapping her arms around him, feeling the weight of the world begin to lift. The tension broke like a dam releasing its waters. It's okay. You're not alone now. Jake joined them, enveloping them in a tight embrace, and a wave of unity washed over the scene as the crowd began to exhale, relief sweeping through the onlookers. Help is here, Officer Barnes said softly, moving in closer, ready to guide the boy toward a future of healing. Though the road ahead wouldn't be easy, Emma felt a newfound light within her. They had seen the shadows and faced them together. This moment wasn't just the merging of two forms of love, it was a transformation that resonated through the fabric of their community. As they held on to each other, the realities of pain felt lighter, hopes brighter, and she finally understood. Love wasn't only meant to protect, it was meant to liberate. In that life-altering moment, the dawn broke across Maplewood. The air felt clearer, filled with whispers of a new. Tears flowed freely, not just of sorrow, but of a unity forged against all odds. Let us go home, Emma whispered, still holding on to Jake and the boy while the shadows began to finally retreat. The future seemed bright, the community stepping forward together, knowing they wouldn't just survive the storm, they would thrive beyond it. Now, here is the moment. You need to subscribe to the channel immediately to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this energy flowing. And don't forget to comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.